Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to speak about reloading the Colts and the challenges of non-biological life. In my book, Reloading the Colts, which I have here, it's a story about a pair of old people, a couple who've been married over 50 years. And I have to admit there's a lot of myself and my wife in these characters, because we're reaching that point. Now Bill and Cookie Colt, who are the protagonists in the story, are in their 70s. You know, we're in our 60s, but I'll be 70 here in another little over 3 years. So it's getting close to where Bill is in the story. But anyway, they're living in the future, and what happens is the government at their time decides that there's a need to colonize some other planets. It looked like Earth was in trouble. The whole system may collapse, and they didn't want to allow humanity to die out in case a big cataclysm hit. So they took Bill and Cookie Colt, unbeknownst to them, and uploaded their brains. They copied every single neuron, every synapses, the complete state of their mind at the time they were on the table at the Science Institute. They were their entire brain was captured, and it was uploaded into a memory location in a computer system. And the process actually killed their bodies, so they died that day. It took 10 years for them to actually upload the data that was in the computer into an android body. And there are some other things that went on with which would come up later on the reproduction side of things. They were going to be able to, as non-biological androids, be able to produce human children. And that's another part of the story. But the point I wanted to discuss was when they arrived and woke up, it was like 1,000 years had passed. So everything they knew on Earth was gone. But they woke up in another galaxy, circling another planet, and there was an individual called Michelangelo who prepared the planet for them, terraformed it so it'd be ready for them, and had set up a robot assistance group called the Industrial Park, where Bill and Cookie could go and colonize the planet. They were going to move down, just the two of them, and from them, with their descendants, they were going to populate the planet and hopefully later the galaxy. Well, the point, what I'd like to discuss, is where Bill is trying to wrap his head around the idea of being non-biological and trying to determine whether or not he's truly living, or whether is he just a simulation that really doesn't exist and it's all a sham. So he gets in and starts asking, Michelangelo. He said, Descartes said that I think, therefore I am. He said, but I have to rephrase that. I think, so therefore I am what? I'm not human. What am I? And so he got into a discussion with Michelangelo about that, and they went through quite a few things, but it finally came down to where Michelangelo said, think about this, Bill. You have neural action going on constantly that in every way emulates what your human brain was doing before. It is not a close approximation, being almost there. It is an exact replication of what your brain did and what it would be doing right this second if you were fully human, sitting here having this conversation with me. You're saying that I could pass a super advanced Turing test, where the standard is not to appear merely human, But I must appear to be Wild Bill Colt. No, Michelangelo said, that is not entirely correct. Yes, you could easily pass such a test. That much is true. However, this goes far beyond merely appearing to be Wild Bill Colt. You are Wild Bill Colt, utterly. There's nothing about your biological self that you lack other than the aging process and all that goes with it. You are, in fact, who you feel that you are. You are not an impersonation nor an imposter. You are not a party trick. You really do exist as a self-aware life form that just happens to be non-biological. And you have all the attributes and memories of the person you feel you are. Be confident in your identity. Embrace it fully because it is real and it's no sham. How can I be sure? Bill asked. Trust your feelings, Michelangelo said. Seriously, you know in your heart of hearts that you are Wild Bill Colt. Nothing at all tells you otherwise. Your love for your wife is as deep as it ever was, isn't it? You're damn right it is. I love Cookie just like I always have. I don't doubt that even a little bit. Well, there you go, Michelangelo said. Seriously, what more do you need? I don't need anything more than that, Cookie said. She had pushed open the door and heard the tail end of the conversation. She looked at Bill and said, I love you, William Darrell Colt, and you love me. That takes care of all I need or I want. And that pretty much settled the issue for the time being for them. They continued on their existence. They moved down to the planet, and life moved on just as if it had as if they were biological. They had to do some things for energy, power their bodies and things that were different, but generally their daily actions, their daily lives were human. And it later grew into something far more as they found their computer systems were more powerful than was required just to emulate the human mind, so they were able to go into enhanced mode where they used more of their computer power. And then finally they did an actual upgrade to themselves to go into super mode, where their computer in their head was vastly superior to what it was before. But they lived their lives in human mode. They called it normal mode. And they would switch over to super mode to help them do the planning and creation of scientific devices and things that would be required by the colony. Anyway, this is more of a discussion of the philosophical problems of being effectively immortal. The problem that they kept coming back to was the fact that they were going to go on, and I covered this more in the book 2, the Firing the Colts, which I haven't published yet, but I'm getting close. The idea of going through 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 1,000,000 years of existence, at some point everything's going to more or less seem like repetition. It's what you've already done. You've done it before. Something so similar to it, it might as well have been it. And then you start looking for a meaning to life. Of course, the problem watching their children age and die was an issue, and they were going to have to face that. They also had to face, if they started uploading their human children into non-biological bodies, they would basically be abandoning biological life entirely. But in any case, the quandary they were running up against and discussed quite extensively in the second book is the idea that immortality is a drawback in ways that it would take a super intellect to overcome. And then should the universe come to an end, they would either have to find a way out of the universe to some alternate universe, or they would cease to exist anyway. And then you come to the end. So this is the types of things they're wrestling with in the story. Meanwhile, they're watching their kids grow up, and it's very much a place that, if I were given the opportunity, I would go there immediately with my wife. If we could go do something like that, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I think, you know, it's a really, I mean, there's challenges. They run into all sorts of antagonists and stuff. That, I mean, it's like, I mean, it is a novel. It's not all peaches and cream. There are bad things, but generally, it's a place that I would love to go. And I hope, I don't expect myself to ever live long enough to run into this, but I hope at some point there will be humans who do have at least something like this and have the opportunity to see what life is like on the other side of the biological, non-biological barrier. And it's just possible that maybe that's our future. Biology takes a long time to evolve, but technology is just screaming fast. It changes from day to day. And you know that if you ever were able to get your consciousness inside of a computer, that the future expansion of your abilities would be through the ceiling. I mean, there's no limit to where you could go. And once you start doing that, possibly there's a place, a state that you can reach where all of this would be great. And if you lived 1,000,000 years, maybe you'd find new things to fill up the time, and everything would be great. Or maybe not, and you'd shut yourself off. I don't know, it's hard to say, but it's a very interesting concept for me, and I just thought I'd share that with you. Please click like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time.